Lord, prepare me a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and proven with thanksgiving. I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Once again, I say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and to some of you, good night, depending on your time zone. Of course, on this platform, the seventh dimension, we begin to address issues based on culture and tradition, religion and spirituality, politics and implication, and so many other areas of our life. Without wasting much of our time, we'll go on this morning to look at the topic I titled, What We Must Know About the Native Doctors. This is part 4. And it is under part 4, episode 9, under spirituality and implication. A lot of atrocities is going on in our land as we speak. This is as a result of misconception of what it means to go back to our roots. It's important that we explain some of these issues regarding going back to our roots, so that our people will understand the consequence, how dangerous it could be when we misrepresent most of these issues. We look at the issue of going back to your roots. What I have in mind as a Christian is not going back to build shrine. It's not going back to begin to create some powers you know nothing about. It's not about becoming Ezemo and Ezewanye. No. Outside all these religion practices, we were a people, and for record purposes, to the best of my knowledge, Christianity is not a religion. It is a way of life. It is mainly misunderstood to be a religious body. This is to suit the governmental purpose for creating or influencing religion in the first place. But let's leave that aside. When we talk about our culture and tradition, most of us as black people believe that our culture and traditions are evil. They are wrong. And this is because most of us have used them in a wrong way. If we take time and look at the Bible, for instance, if you take time and look at the mindset behind all the activities carried out by our ancestors, you will discover simple truth. Our culture was just simple as instrument of righteousness. Our culture was just simple instrument of building. Our cultures and tradition were instrument for giving life, not for destroying lives. But we must all understand that it is impossible to move to have a positive result without the influence of negativity. What do I mean? Plus plus is minus, and minus minus is minus. For you to have a plus, a progressive state, you have to combine the good and the evil. And this is one of the reasons God still allows evil to exist, because both of them are needed. A man once told me, he said, we all have our monster. If we are able to control our monster, it will help to bring out that angel in you. But if you let the monster ravage everything that is good about you, they will never know you are an angel within. They both must exist together. That is why sometimes you are happy and sometimes you are sad. For reasons best known or unknown to you, they both must exist. That is why they talk about good and at the same time they talk about evil. Our culture and tradition has been misrepresented in so many ways. And each time you talk about it, a lot of people who don't understand what you're actually saying tend to like, what is this guy saying? And others will run immediately and go and build shrine and become Ogomo and the rest of it. It's not something we can be able to review in a single presentation like this. But then we continue to engage them one at a time. Today we are looking at what we must understand about native doctors as practiced by our ancestors. It's December already. A lot of people are under pressure. They want to go home this festive period. They want to go home big. Some believe this is the month they make the money they couldn't make from January to December. And so our youth, our elders, our people get involved in a lot of activities. You can imagine ordinary Yahoo. Ordinary Yahoo boy, they now use the aid of Okite, as they call it, rituals, just to make money. But the consequence is that a lot of damage is being done to the very fabric of the foundation of our existence. A lot of damage are being done there. Why there are other issues distracting us? Let us have it at the back of our mind. If these processes are not checkmated, if this message does not go to our youth and make them understand that all these things they are doing have grievous consequence, we should be ready to build more psychiatric home in the future. Because a lot of people are going to go mad. These things have consequences. These things have repercussion. In this instance, when I say go back to your root, I am simply telling those people who understand culture and tradition to call your people to order. Call your people to order. I witnessed a generation who could not do anything except they belong to secret court. This generation made wealth. They made money. And this generation are gone. I don't see their children anywhere. We hardly hear the name of their father anymore. The children, most of them who managed to escape the consequences of their father's spiritual voyage, may be scampering around the world. And today, as we speak, just look around our land. These are some of the things we are crying. And that draws me back to where this thing became an issue, to what some individuals are doing in the name of Biafra agitation. They are going from one native doctor to another. I listened to Governor Soludo said something about unknown gunmen and ESM camp invaded. He said what he cannot understand is why everywhere is shrine. Our people are actually going back into idol worship, into implicating religion without knowing its consequence. Even Christianity, if it were to be classified as a religion, has its consequence. Even Islamic and others, they have. But the point is that you must know what you are getting involved before you get involved. And now all these things start with simple office known as the native doctor. Who is a native doctor? Who is a native doctor? It is important we consider the following in order to understand our discussion. And so let us find out who the native doctors are. They call them native doctor. And so if they are native doctor, let's look at the first question. What is the meaning of a native doctor? Because when you say I'm going to a native doctor, people will immediately assume you're going to carry out one ritual activity, one demonic act, and so on. What does that word imply, a native doctor? Our ancestors lived peacefully. Our ancestors lived in organized society. These evil were there. The good were there. But they understand how to create a barrier in between the good and the bad. And so they will say, what you have done will go to you. So let's look at it. What is a native doctor? What does the name imply to you? You call them herbalist. You call them traditionalist. You call them witch doctor. You call them sorcerers. And so many other names. All of them fall under the umbrella of what is known as a native doctor. Now, as the name implies, the native doctor simply means like you have a medical doctor, and so you have a native doctor. I don't think there is anything evil there. But the way it is presented today, everything about it is evil. And so when I say go back to your roots, I simply want you to go and find out, how did your fathers manage the process? A native doctor. Before the invent of Western medicine, we have our own traditional medicine. Our traditional medicine today is relegated to the background, or is being relegated to the background, for two major reasons. Number one, it is not scientifically proven. Its authenticness is not scientifically proven. Since the computer cannot analyze it and understand why it works, they say it's evil, it's bad, it's dangerous, it's health hazardous. They speak big English. It's just the same way that the Google does not know the meaning of your name in a traditional way. It will tell you it's error. Ask your Google the meaning of your traditional name. Google will tell you it's error. So who told Google it's error? These are things they don't understand. So the moment you say you are a native doctor, you're dealing with African herb, the system is designed that way. It is health hazardous. Native doctors are quack. But this is not the truth. Just that something went wrong. That is what I want us to understand. So when I say cultural tradition, you should understand. When they say they are native doctor, they used to give birth to children before the first hospital was ever built in Africa. I do not think your mothers and your father were going for operation during childbearing before now. And I don't think the mortality rate was as high as these days. There are a lot of things going on, but you're not understanding how our ancestors were able to manage those areas. When I say your ancestors, don't think about one of your spiritual father who is evil and demonic. You know, it is easy to say, pray against your ancestor. Every ancestor curse, every ancestral evil. Nobody tells you about ancestral blessing. These are some areas that have issue. If you're able to understand what I'm trying to make you see, you're good. If you don't, may the Lord help you. And so native doctors were there to provide medicine for children, medicine for pregnant women, medicine for sick people, medicine for bone, people who have fractured bone, medicine for those who eat poison. And of course, they have native doctors who are specialized in creating gonorrhea, creating staphylococcus, creating like HIV, creating like Ebola and other diseases ravaging the world today, as you know. But now, let me bring you back a little bit. Somebody entered the lab and created COVID-19. The saga have gone there. America blamed China. China blamed America. They now blame the whole world. And all of a sudden, we are not talking about COVID-19 again. It's not evil. The only thing you remember now is free medical health care and the rest. Let's go on. Somebody entered the lab and created Ebola, created HIV. These are doctors. Why did we not demonize the whole doctors? Since some set of doctors created this in their lab. But it's okay. We have accepted that our culture and tradition are evil. So begin to bear the consequences of other people's atrocity. Let's move away from there. Our native doctor. Number one, what is the meaning of a native doctor? You will see there is nothing evil in it. And then you ask, a native doctor, is it the same thing with a witch doctor? If native doctors are ordinary doctors, just like ordinary doctors, are they the same thing like the witch doctor? Because this is where we are making mistake. When you tell your pastor, for instance, I went to see a native doctor, they may conduct deliverance for you. But the native doctor is not the same as the witch doctor. And so our fathers understand that there is a native doctor, there is a witch doctor. I'm coming. Let us look at the third one. And that is, how many type of doctors do we have? How many type of doctors does our ancestors have? It's difficult for me to make this presentation, but I will manage and see how I can make most of you that can understand to understand. Because you need to benefit from the exploit, from the invention of your father and your father before your father. So your life can be more balanced than it is today, anywhere you are around the world. And so the third question we should ask is, how many type of doctors do we have? Native doctors. So that you'll be able to put your perspectives in place. Now, when you go to the Western doctor, the medical doctor as they call them, you see, they fall into different umbrella. You have those who studied family medicine. I think that is the highest branch of medical doctors. But under the medical doctors, you have the veterinaries doctor, you have the orthopedic, you have the surgeon, you have the gynecologist, you have the dentist, you have the optician, to mention but a few, the pharmacists and the rest of them. They are all doctors, but they are not specialized in doing the same thing. And you see, by the time an optician begin to work, do the job of a dentist, I'm sure you know something is going to go wrong. And then you can imagine an orthopedic doctor embarking on the job of a gynecologist. You see, it's going to be very dangerous. But that does not disqualify that doctor from being a doctor. You going to employ a gynecologist to take care of the issue of the eye, somebody who is a specialist in treating children and pregnant women, you are inviting them, employing them to treat your eyes, you want to go blind. That doesn't make medical doctors evil. It is the same way in our culture and tradition. When you invite a native doctor, they have different type of native doctor. You need to know the one you are dealing with. You have a native doctor. Under the native doctor, you have so many of them. Let me see if I can be able to get most of their name. You have the herbalist. In the English setting, the herbalist should be under the what do they call it? Pharmacies. Then you have the fortune tellers. You have the seers. You have the witches and the wizard. You have the spiritualists. You have the healers. Let's go by this. When you hear our people talk about native doctor, they could be talking about the herbalist. They could be talking about the fortune tellers. They could be telling about the seers. They could be telling about witches or wizards. They could be talking about the spiritualists. They could be talking about the healers. They are all native doctor. Which of them is evil and which of them is good? How did our father before us manage them within our community, and we are able to get effective and positive results before this process was demonized? Now let's go back a little bit. If you look at the book of Ephesians, that should be Ephesians that should be Ephesians chapter 4 from verse 11 to 13. And let's see if I can be able to remember it, or let me paraphrase. He said, and he gave some to be apostle, and some prophet, and some evangelist, and some pastors and teacher. That is Ephesians 4, 11 to 13. Then in verse 12 he said, for the perfection of the saints, for the work of the ministry, and for the edifying of the body of Christ. It was he who gave this gift to the church. And these were the church doctors. Do we say Christianity doctors? When Jesus organized his ministry, he left doctors. So let's call them religious doctors. They are all men of God, but they are assigned to do different jobs. Some he called apostle, some he called prophet, some he called evangelist, some he called teachers. Now, most of the challenges we are having in the church today, or the body of Christ, is the misrepresentation of these doctors in the house of God, in the church. You hear somebody will tell you, I am an apostle. An apostle is sitting down as a pastor in a single church. You see somebody will tell you, I am a prophet. And a prophet is sitting down in a church. And you see some go up to the extent answering apostle, prophet, bishop, right reverend. So which one are you? You must be specific. And now they could justify whatever name they answer, because the Bible actually allows them to function in any offices as far as the grace is there. So I do not stand to condemn them, but you have a calling. The apostles played major role, occupying the whole offices of the five ministry fold gift, being able to deliver their duty without complicating the whole process. Paul has never presented himself like a pastor, but he did the work of a pastor, even more than Timothy. Paul has never claimed, for instance, to be a prophet, but we all know he saw revelation only few men can boast of. Paul was almost everything, but yet he restricted himself to the office of apostle. And so, coming back to our culture and tradition, some of the problem we are having is that we want to make money. And so a witch doctor will tell you is a seer. A seer will tell you is a prophetess. A prophetess will tell you is a healer, and so on and so forth. But now, if you're able to put perspective in place, you will discover that this thing is not as demonic as you think they are today. One of my younger brother, the same mother, the same father. At about 11 years, when he was 11 years, cataract started growing in his eyes. My parents were not comfortable about it. Then they have a teaching hospital somewhere in Benin, where you have professional-based surgical doctors. And then they said they should take the boy there so they can operate on the eyes and remove the cataract. But then my parents was not still comfortable with it. And on a daily basis, the cataract was growing. And then my father went to the village and explained to the elder brother then, maybe by next week we'll take this boy for a surgical operation to remove the cataract from his eyes. And my uncle was like, for what? Ordinary cataract? No, bring him to the village next Saturday. We were still kids. And then, early morning, my father drove up to the village. They left, let's say, around 7 a.m. And by 11 to 12 noon, my father was back. My younger brother, the cataract in his eye is gone and disappeared. This is over 20 years now. Over 20 years. The cataract was gone. And then I called my younger brother. I said, how did he remove it? Because I was thinking, he said, they now do brakata. They now call Shango. They now call the god of fire on Amadioha and called many things, and then cataract flew. He said they gave him one fish, we call the fish mangala or bunga fish. Very sweet, dried, smoked fish. He said they asked him to be chewing the fish. And then they prepared some substance that was very pepperish. He said they asked him to be chewing the fish so he will not feel the pain of what is about to happen. He said they now add those substance inside this, applied it in his eye bulb. They now saw white thing coming out from the eyes. He said it was very painful. But after a few minutes, the cataract was gone. The cataract came out. He said he didn't even feel the pain because he was enjoying the fish. But they told him why they gave him the fish is to remove his mind from the pain. Divide the pain between the enjoyment and the pain. But today I see many people dying with cataract. And you see advert on Facebook. But the point is, where are people who are custodians of this magic, as you may call it? Is it evil? But you see, it's our culture and tradition. We have destroyed it for many reasons. There is a sickness known as hernia. We call it EB. Today, if you have EB, you will go for operation. And it is said, once you undergo a surgical operation, you are a half man. You are not complete again, a half human. Our ancestors was not in that habit. They know what they do. Hernia, EB will disappear. There are no incantation. They didn't call Satan. They didn't call Amadioha. I need you to watch all these healers under the umbrella of native doctor. You will see they pray to God. They don't call any specific deity. It is the application of herb. These people know secret about nature. Most of you do not know that there are some plants that you don't see in the daytime. As they break like this, those plants will disappear. But they are still there. You can't see them during the daytime. But at night, that is when you can see them. Have you ever wondered why some people go out in the night? They say they are going to look for leaf. I want you to watch. I have seen women in the night like this. They will enter thick forest. You say, these people now wincho, this woman a bad person. What did they go do for bush? There are leaves that are only visible to women. And those leaves, you can only see them at night. If you are a man, you go to the bush to look for those leaves at night, you can't see them. Except you are a woman. There are reasons God placed all those rules. We have forgotten them because some group of hungry people who have little idea of how these things function demonized and destroyed the whole process. I have seen people suffer for pile. I have a relative. He is very wealthy. In fact, he works with the Shell. Very wealthy. He went for holiday somewhere in Switzerland some years ago. And the moment he landed to start his enjoyment, the pile struck him. He started bleeding. The moment they dropped him from the airplane, the bleeding was uncontrollable. The airport authorities said they should fly him to the nearest hospital for surgical attention. But before they will proceed, the man called home and said, this is what has happened. Any moment from now, we'll be going into the theater for operation to commence. And the relative at home called him and said, please, tell them to send you back. Do not operate that hernia. If you operate that hernia, that pile, you are dead. Please. They now managed to package my relative, my brother, and they flew him back home. And the moment they brought him back home, they dropped him in the Shell hospital then. And they sustained him with some Western drugs just to kill the pain and while we arrive. And then towards the evening that very day, somebody came from the village to visit them with the traditional medicine for the pile. Some of the leaf I saw there was like sugarcane leaf. This your common sugarcane. You think they are useless. And other leaves. They brought those leaves. They squeezed them together. And they pulled the adult, that's my uncle Bombo. And then used the liquid from that leaves they pounded together to rub the pile. My brother is over 15 years. There is nothing like a pile in that man's life again. The man should be close to 60 to 65 years. And this thing happened within when he was around 45 years or thereabouts. Are we talking about people dying of diabetes? Have you heard it happening to our people before? But you see, when I say go back to our roots, somebody is going to say, oh, you are a pastor. How can you say we should go to a native doctor? But truly, if you listen to yourself, you see you don't have sense. I'm still a Christian. Because if you have sense, you should know the role native doctors play. They are good as well as evil. I just want you to understand some secrets so we don't just die for nothing. Do you know our biological makeup and the biological makeup of those who gave us even the Western drugs are not 100% the same? Do you know there are some drugs that cannot work for us, but they can work for them? Do you know there are diseases that cannot affect them, but they can affect us? And there are some that cannot affect us, but they can affect them? I went out with my bishop some time ago. with one of invited evangelists from America, who is a Caucasian. He came to minister in our church because my bishop was raised in America. And then we were strolling on the street of Lagos, just like as his childhood friend. Both of them are now ministers. And then my bishop saw apple and said, oh, I need to eat this apple. We stopped by and he bought apple on the traffic. They brought out their bottled water, washed it out of the window while we were still moving. And then Bishop started eating the apple. And then the other Caucasian man joined him, washed his own like his African man. And he ate the apple. I can tell you, before we drive from somewhere Oshudioke to around Sele, which is less than a kilometer, the yellow man have turned to red man. He said he's not feeling fine. We took him home and immediately cholera has taken over already. And then his people over there in America said we should see how we can sustain him and send him back immediately, because he's a missionary. So if we had tried to rescue him, he's going to die. He just wants to eat apple. He thought it's like that. That same germ that is in his apple is still in our apple. But you see, our stomach is rugged. So that germ is not going anywhere. Why am I bringing this up? When we talk about native doctor, and you continue to see them as Lucifer and Satan, because of the atrocious activity of most of them, we will lose the truth. We will lose the blessing that comes from this angle. I'm not asking you to go and become a native doctor. But if you are a herbalist, you are a herbalist. We have healers. Now let me tell you, there are people who specialize in the fixing of bone. Most of you will not believe because you are too religious now. My immediate younger brother fell when he was still very young. We were playing football. He broke his hand. And then they took him to the hospital. They speak a lot of grammar and it was complicated. And this boy was in pain for many days. And then somebody came and said, this boy may end up losing this hand. Why don't you take him to this family? And that family for generations are known for managing bone issues. It doesn't matter the level of damage done to any bone. That is their job. And I remember then, when we got to their house, they examined my younger brother's hand, my immediate younger brother. They examined his hand, and the man said, my money is 30p. 30p should be 30 naira then. Just like you say 100k. Their own generation, when they want to call k, is p. So everybody laughed. We have spent more than 30,000 then, without any remedy. So this one calling 30p as if it's a big money. It was just fun. My mother said, if you can do it, treat the boy. Now let me tell you the process they did. The man went to uproot a grass popularly or scientifically known as Tidakosa. And then he took a bucket of water and poured it on the roof of a building. And then as the water is falling down from the roof of the building, he took the root of the Tidakosa and started using it to massage the hand of my brother. Though he was making some incantation, I cannot say I know what he was saying. And then after massaging the hand, he said we should go. That was the day the pain died. He went through that process like 3 days. And that was the end of every bone damage in that hand. But today, these people are called evil people. there is the Africa is such backward that they cannot set up scientific institute to find out how these people are able to do what they are doing. If there is a evil power behind it, let's know who this evil power is. I don't know if somebody understands what I'm trying to say. And let's look at it this way. There are many leaves in the forest. There are many fruits in the forest. Beautiful ones, but they are poisonous. Some very ugly ones, but they are sweet. Let's take cocoyam for instance. Somebody wake up one day and dig up cocoyam. And then the person was able to know that, oh, you can eat this thing. Do you know it's not all cocoyam you eat? Do you know there are some cocoyam you will eat, your throat will scratch you for the whole of the day? Our ancestors were able to separate them. For instance, you talk of Iriji Yam Festival today. Many people demonized it. If not for harvest in the church, today they will tell you that Iriji is demonic. This is because you don't understand how it's supposed to be. During the early harvest, the yam is not conducive for eating. When you eat a yam that is not well matured and it's not time for harvest, you have a stomach upset. You'll be purging. It could be a very discomforting moment. Our ancestors studied in between the time, and they discovered that from a particular period of time, it is safe to eat yam. Though they will tell you, if you eat yam before this time, the gods will not be angry with you. That is why you are having stomach bite. But once that time elapses, the gods has given a go-ahead for you to eat the yam. And this is a matter of, let's call it a local science. They were able to know the time, the proper time to consume new yam, and the proper time not to consume new yam. Why am I bringing all these things up? This is to make you understand that because they are native doctors, don't make them evil. And because they are native doctors, does not mean they are all the same. They have spiritualists, they have healers, they have fortune tellers. They play different roles. They play different roles. You have the ones they call the seers. There are people who can see. There are people who can dream. There are people who are healers. They all fall under different categories of doctor. There are witches and wizards. Let's talk about them briefly before we continue. In those days, in every community, like where I come from, we have 2 grades of native doctor or 3 grades of native doctor. One is the one we call the herbalist. The herbalist don't do Ibafa. They don't do consultation. You go to a herbalist and say, I have fever. They will either prepare the concoction for you or they give you the leaf. That is what the herbalist does. And then you have another one they call the oracle. You go there for consultation. And then you have the ones they call the witch doctors. Amisu, Ubuma. Witches are wizards. What they specialize in is doing bad things. Most of them don't live in the community. They send them to the outskirts of the community, but they are still part of the community. They restrict their activities. Their job is to do evil. Their job is to kill, nothing more. So when you need to kill somebody who have offended you, you go to them. But let me tell you what you should know about these people. Those witches and wizards condemned once, they are allowed to practice, but they are guided by another spiritual doctor who will constantly go to them and say, look at this person you want to kill. We forbid you not to attempt in touching that life, because if you do, they will now, the way they refer, the gods of the land will descend on you. And so in my hometown, I know native doctors who the only thing they do is how to kill, how to poison, how to just let anybody look for your trouble. That is their job. But they were not busy killing anybody, because they cannot kill everybody, except the one who have sullied their hand. But we consider their activities as evil. And so they are sent to live on one end of the village. So if you are going there to consult them, you should understand that you are the one embarking on that journey alone. I remember my grandmother's house. The next family home, before my own home, they were families of native doctors. And these native doctors were feared by all the communities. But they have not poisoned our animal. They have not poisoned our dog. They have not done us any evil. For as long as I can remember that man was alive, nothing. Most of his children today are pastors. But you see, the herb they learned from their father, they use it. Why they pray and do other things, and they know the leaves that can solve those same problems, they move ahead and apply them. It's just like Jesus saying, a man is hungry. Instead of you to bring out food and give the man. So the man cannot thank God that you have fed him. You start praying, oh Lord, give him food. Oh Lord, fill his belly. Oh Lord, give him food. Let the Holy Ghost feed him. As you feed Elijah and Moses, feed him, oh Lord. He said, you are a hypocrite. There was no need for that prayer, because you have food already. Give that guy food. Let that guy begin to thank God for the food you gave to him. They are all the same. So if I can call Angel Michael to come and heal you, could come to come and intervene, when I know that the leaf God, the same God created, looking at me and you can solve that problem, why not say, brother, look at this leaf. God did it because he solved problem like this. That brother, that sister will go thanking God for that miracle. Because it's a miracle that we're making this broadcast. It's a miracle. So, what I'm trying to say in effect on this area is, understand that native doctor, they are not all entirely evil. It's just the same way. All the pastors, they are not all entirely good. You can always relate terrorism to Islam. But all imam don't believe in violence. You can say, for instance, Nigerians are criminals. But I can assure you that here in Nigeria, you have angels. It's just the one you have confronted. And it is the relationship you have created among them. In this instance, when I say exploit their activities, I didn't ask you to go and do Okite. Because those people will rip off your destiny. They will twist your life. They can make you rich overnight. But let me tell you one secret there before we bring this program to an end. Most of those wealth they are giving to you have been ordained by heaven that they belong to you already. They only fast forward the process, which will eventually lead you to your untimely death. Now, I'm trying to bring this thing down to one particular end. Do not think native doctors are all entirely evil. Number two, understand that the moment you allow your destiny, your life to be implicated by spiritual principle, there is a price to pay. And approach these things from the angle that it is God that created them. And it is God that has the final say. Don't try to deceive God. But in the act or process of trying to manipulate some of this method is what ushered in the evil aspect of it that makes you run from your culture and tradition. Asian nation, Chinese, Japanese, and the rest of them, including India, they are making fortune, billions of dollars from their traditional herb. You hear of companies like Tianxi, Good Cycle, and the rest of them. Many of these companies are traditionally based pharmaceutical companies. Yes, we have some of them in Nigeria here. The Yorubas are doing well on that aspect. We used to have people like Bembela and the rest of them from the Igbo extraction. But they are gradually fizzling out. Instead of us to build on them, we are going for Okite. We are looking for the demonic part of it. And then, why would it not be condemned? Why will it not be seen as evil? And so, I have tried to make you see different parts of this native doctor. Which one are you dealing with? The one that will make you rich overnight? In our next discussion on this segment, we shall look at the implication of trying to influence your destiny by diabolical means, which are some of the major purposes of this discussion. Then you will know if indeed you have complicated your life or not. So when I say go back to your root, don't misunderstand the process. I just want you to have a normal life. I just want you to enjoy nature that is around you. I just want you to see God playing out his rule, not because you invited him, because he wanted it to be so. I want you to understand that there are consequences if you choose to tamper with what nature has already offered you. So go and exploit your native doctors. Find out who they are. Are they gynecologists? Or don't you know in those days you have women who are specializing in childbirth? Are they orthopedic? Don't you know there are families that are gifted with how to manage bone issue? Are we talking about pharmacy? Don't you know there are herbalists out there who know how to manipulate leaf and then get the normal chemical that can heal you, cure your illnesses? Are you talking of Okite? You want to become rich overnight? Don't you know it can destroy your lineage, destroy your life completely? But we cannot use because of the evil and throw away the good. There is an adage they say in our place. It says you cannot throw away a baby with the water you used to bathe the baby because the water is dirty. Use the water to bathe the baby, remove the baby from the dirty water, and then you throw the dirty water away. Learn to separate the wheat from the chaff. When we talk about culture and tradition on this platform, my target is to help you see that in the midst of your uncivilization, as it is referred to, in the midst of your Satan infested community, in the midst of your evil supposed culture, there are good there that you fail to see. This is why our advanced world all around us in the early 80s, 70s, and early 90s, they came into Africa, ravaging every shrine, taking all the artifacts from our shrine, looted all of them. But they are evil. Why do they spend so much resources going from one shrine, one babalawo, one native doctor to another, collecting artifacts? What are they doing with it? Oh, they are helping us to pray for God to forgive our ancestors, right? Or they are just looking at it and drinking tea or coffee, or drink beer and wine whenever they want. It's entertaining them, right? I will stop there for now. In our next discussion, like I said, we'll look deeper into allowing any of these native doctors, the spiritual one, to involve in your destiny. It's going to be disastrous. You see all those people who are going to do Odieshi, you see all those people who are going to do Yahoo ritualists, and so many of them, you see how much they can complicate and destroy a society. Without any spiritual implication, to spill the blood of somebody can cause a very great danger, can lead to a very, how do I say, catastrophic end for the people. That is why each time we say, don't kill, don't kill, don't kill, don't kill. It's not because if you kill, the world will end. That blood you're spilling on the ground, you have no idea the damage it's going to cause. Not just for you who is spilling the blood, in most cases for the innocent people. So understand, when I say go back to your root, now we are talking about the issue of native doctor. When you are doing Okite, understand that your destiny is being manipulated. When you meet most of them, understand that you are the one bringing yourself to a destructive end. But that does not mean that there are some of them who are actually solution to your life's problem. I sign off from here. We'll continue from where we stop in our next edition. Remain focused. Remain true. I remain George Unibe, and goodbye for now. Our lines are open there. You're free to ask questions. You're free to make contribution. Some of you call me. In fact, a sister called me and explained certain things to me. And I was impressed. I was impressed. And most of the things we discuss will be the foundational base of the next presentation on this segment. The issue of native doctors. They manipulate your destiny. I'm not asking you to leave your religion. I'm not interfering whether you are a Muslim or you are a Christian or you are a pagan. I am telling you to look into our tradition. There is Umenala and Ordinala. When I don't know how to present it in English for you to understand. When it becomes Ordinala, it's been there before we came. When you influence it to Umenala, it can be manipulated. People now begin to look at the issue of Yahoo. If you allow it to continue, some people will think that this is who we are. There are a lot of things going on today, being promoted, supported by the new generation. People think this is who we are because it has been incorporated into our way of life. That is not who we are. Go back and find out the role these people play. Stop analyzing things you know nothing about. And I'm sure most of you don't see native doctors as evil as you used to, if you have listened to this program with an open mind. But am I a native doctor? No. I'm a reverend. I remain that till tomorrow. I have constantly told you nobody will violate my conscience because I know where the line crosses. And I know when I'm walking off course and when I am following the right altitude or latitude. I'll stop there for now. Be free to inbox us with your comments, questions. You can even throw more light for our people to understand. Everything about us is not demonic and it's not evil. There are good things about us that are being taken away. We are destroying them because we thought they are all evil. I remain George Unibe and I sign off from here. Do have a wonderful day ahead of you.